Last Stories at the Bar!
A night in with Mauler and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, gonna send back a beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine. Plus they'll say, I'll be mine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, Mauler and the critical drinker.
Well, greetings to you, everyone. Hello.
Hello. How you doing, everybody? Yay, woohoo.
Yeah, woo, yeah, good stuff. Welcome back. I should preemptively apologize to you guys. I seem to have picked up a little bug. I've got a bit of a cold going on. And so if you hear me snorting occasionally, it's not like I'm doing lines or anything. I am just trying to keep the mucus inside my head. Basically.
Yeah, doing the lines is just a constant. This is different, okay?
This is actually a problem rather than a solution. So anyway, I'll do my best to mute myself if it's all happening. But here we are, and we've got a bunch of super chats that were left over from the night of Open Bar 124. I don't think it's about time we answered them.
Very well. Let us do it.
Well, right, let's apply our mighty intellects to this one and see what we've got here. So, Jackson Loves Nintendo says, Happy 2025. I thought the cast and drama was better in Squid Game Season 1, but the story is better in Season 2. Phenomenal season, equal to Season 1, especially the finale.
I disagree, but...
I can comment on this now, at least, because I have actually seen it all, and I've actually got a review that's just going out now, depending on when you're actually listening to this, but as the time of recording, it's just going out now. And... yeah, I liked it overall. I didn't like it as much as Season 1. I thought the ending was a cop-out and their escape plan was completely retarded. But overall, I think it still manages to summon up those moments of drama, when someone you care about suddenly gets thrust into harm's way. The way the games kind of constantly change things up. I thought it was okay. It was a bit of a safe and workmanlike follow-up to Season 1. Probably didn't need to be split into then 2 seasons. It really felt like they could have condensed it down into 1 and it would have been okay. And I was getting super frustrated with the scenes of the guys in the boat just doing the same thing.
They're so worthless, those scenes.
It eats up a lot of screen time.
To go to bat a little bit, I really like Mingle and the Six-Legged Race. I love those 2 games. I thought they were great. But drama for the characters. But I sort of realized in retrospect that was the absolute height of my investment. It was really engaging, and it occupies, 20% of the whole season. Maybe if I'm being generous, I don't know. And then the rest of it split up into scenes where my characters I care about are talking to each other, characters I don't know doing things that lead nowhere, and that's about it. Actually, everything can be sorted into those 2 for the most part.
Yeah. I think because I'm trying to compare it in terms of cast to Season 1. Obviously, there's a lot of people involved in both, and I don't know if there's a bit of cast bloat going on with this season, where there is a lot of people to try and deal with, and it feels like a lot of them don't add a whole lot. Like the witch lady who's just constantly babbling pseudo-religious nonsense, and I'm just go away.
Axe the detective plot line, shrink the voting scenes, get rid of not even get rid of, but the Squid Game employee, she should... Yeah,
that subplot about the organ harvesting and stuff, that's a little bit tedious. The thing is,
a sad thing. You're like, oh, this could be super interesting, and then you watch and you're like, well, okay.
Yeah, because it doesn't happen frequently enough, and it doesn't go into enough detail that you're invested in any of the characters involved, but it does happen often enough that it interrupts the flow of most episodes, and it's that unhappy middle ground where I'm like, okay, do something with this, or get rid of it, because as it stands, it's just frustrating. I actually like the voting scenes, weirdly, because I
like them too. It's just I think they're a little too fat. If you look at the timeline, how much they take up, it's quite significant.
Yeah, I don't necessarily need to watch every person vote, which is kind of almost where you get to with this. But I always like it when characters in shows like this, they follow a similar thought process to you. They're kind of as smart as you in terms of working out the numbers and how it's going to affect the vote if a person dies, all that sort of thing. Even just little things as much as their escape plan was stupid, the bit where one of the guys has to jam his gun into a door to stop it from closing, but he immediately picks up the magazine from it. That's nice. like that. They might have just left that out with slightly flabbier editing or whatever, but they thought to put that in, and that was just it's cool. Just little details like that. It makes me smile. But yeah, overall, I didn't hate it. Wasn't as good as season 1, but it was still enough to keep me entertained. So
I'll be checking out season 3, and then I can recommend based on that. As it stands, I'm like, wait a sec, just wait a half year.
Yeah. Well, Jackson loves Nintendo. You certainly got your money's worth out of that one. Kept us going for a bit. Moshi Cat says, "Hail panel. Any thoughts on Mickey 17 trailer? A new movie from Bong Joon-ho from Parasite with Pattinson. By the way, Drinker, I started Shogun and it keeps amazing me. Thanks for the recommendation. Wishing you the best for 2025. I feel like this Mickey question came up actually on the night.
Well, yeah, that very one I think you've read because I remember the Shogun part of it as well.
Right, okay. Well, that is fine. It's weird that I hadn't read the previous one, but I had read this. I don't know how it works. Anyway, Will Over Heels Enterprises says, favorite Gothic city? Whew, that's a good question.
You answered that one already.
No, I didn't. Did I?
Did. Yeah, how do you forget that one? Razorfist was expressing what he thought, and our guests, we opted for fictional ones, I think, was in the discussion. How did you has this cold replaced you? Are you even Drinker?
I don't know. I mean, my head's getting a little bit fuzzy here. Well, I'll tell you what, as an experiment, let's see what the next one is. RSE Elman says, happy second day of the year, Duckies from Hell. Had we done that one?
I don't find that one familiar, though I don't have a great answer for it. I'll just say yes.
Okay. Simon Ho says, Squid Game, if you're going to make a trans character, make her badass ex-special forces. Fuck yeah. Oh no, the activists are mad. Deal with it, transphobes. I guess, like, this was an interesting one because I feel like this character stirred up quite a bit of controversy, but I didn't have an issue with her. Like,
well, so this mentioned on the night as well. The controversy on the left side of things is that this is not a trans actor. This is an actor playing a trans character, which I've had this position since the get-go. I don't think anything's going to change my mind on it. You don't have to be gay or straight to play the vice versa or middle, or you don't have to be non-trans to play trans. You don't have to be a vampire alien to play a vampire alien. Sure. Acting is a wonderful profession where we get the best of the best to convince us they are a thing, or they experience a thing, or they express a thing because of their talent to fake that. As Gary would call it, they are adult pretenders. They pretend. And they got to convince us, even temporarily. So being mad that it wasn't an actual trans person that played a trans character, I think, shouldn't even be close to relevant compared to the interest of having a trans character that wasn't insufferably awfully done.
This is, I guess, the point I was about to make there in terms of the character's implementation in the story, rather than just about the actor playing them. I thought they did a perfectly good job with that person. Like, they didn't come across as preachy or moralizing or
straightforward.
Just a simple thing. And they had a very logical reason for being in the Squid Game to try and get the money for their op. Like, okay, I can understand that people from different backgrounds would have all kinds of motivations for going into something like that.
And you could, you can appeal that to like all kinds of. Imagine going into the Squid Game because you wanted an aesthetic operation for whatever reason you have in your life, and that it ends up killing someone you care about. Like, I think they did all right with that, using it for something more. And I imagine that we'll get more on that story in the second half, hopefully. That's some kind of meaningful end. I have no idea, because I don't know that a lot of those characters are going to make it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we can assume they won't. I mean, like I say, I had no issue with that character and how they were implemented in the story. So
I quite like the sequence where there's blame tossed at the guy for closing the door when the reality is it was already over.
Oh, yeah. He has a very good comeback. Like, I literally saved everyone's life because you would not have made that. The door would have got locked, and then you would have got killed, and everyone in the room would have got killed.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
And all of it is the character reconciling with the fact that I killed that girl out there by voting to stay in. Or at least, I'm on the hook. Not necessarily directly responsible, but still.
Yeah. Normal Man says, if you could raise Shakespeare from the dead, does this one sound familiar, Mauler?
No, not yet.
Get him to write a play about a modern famous person. Who would that play be about?
A modern famous person. Don't know.
All right, well, that's fine then. So we haven't had that question. I would actually bring things thematically and artistically full circle by having him write a play about Tommy Wiseau, because Tommy Wiseau was a big fan of Shakespeare and actually quoted him in one of his commercials. So I think that would just be perfect. I think Tommy would be very, very happy about that.
Yeah, I vote for that. I'd definitely watch it.
Jamaican Bacon says, "Do it, kill her. Happy New Year, drinker and mauler."
Yeah, kill her.
That meme will just live on in eternity. It's funny because that'll become like that's already way more popular than the actual movies will ever be.
Dude, it's going to evolve so fast. People be like, "What movie is that from?" It's like Rebel Moon. And they go, "What movie is that?" Like, all right, yeah, nobody remembers.
I kind of feel bad for that actor as well. Like that's how he's going to be remembered.
Yeah. It's been so interesting, right? Because the Superman DC fights are still going, and there's been lots of different discussions about the amazing artistry of Snyder, and it's always, every time, imagery from his DC works.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, do these people know he's released 3 fully controlled films of his own, and that they don't care about them at all? Like,
yeah. I wonder if they would cite like budgetary constraints or something, because I do get the impression
that he has a huge budget.
Well, I don't know, because it's not really up there on screen. Like, a lot of the special effects look pretty janky.
Well,
I mean, I
don't disagree with that.
Shitty CGI, I suppose. You never know, but who knows? The Biv says, "How are you, Mauler? Are you feeling okay after yesterday, i.e. Wednesday?"
Well, that was day 3, 4, I think, of doing all kinds of drinking and DS2. So I had recovered by then from... I think was it the following night I can't track any of this anymore. We played video games and got drunk, and it was great.
How the fuck do you play Dark Souls when you're drunk? Like, surely that demands perfect reaction time. And
well, we were playing DS2, so it's like the shittest one. Once you know how life gems work, you can be literally a one-fingered retard, and you'll be fine.
Okay. St. Mungo the Whalish says, "Happy New Year, fellas. I think you guys massively underestimate how much kids love Despicable Me and the Minions."
Yeah, you read that one out, 'cause I remember being like, "No, we didn't. We've never said anything like that."
Yeah.
We were talking specifically about how much we are interested in it and how good we think it is. Which doesn't, like... Sure. If you want us to do a show about what we think children will enjoy, we can. But that's really not what we're talking about most of the time.
Yeah. The Jimmy Turner says, "For Open Bar 125 plus, can you guys just start making up movies that came out that year?" Sure, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Like for 2036, we can have a theatrically released Boogie 2988 movie.
Oh, shit. Shakespeare's got to make the Boogie movie.
Oh, yeah. Because that is kind of a modern day tragedy and farce at the same time. So
I got to know his opinions on it. I need some interviews. It's like, Shakespeare, how did you find, like, writing this script? And he's just like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Imagine showing him a picture of Boogie and he'd be like, "What'th be this man will that I see before me?"
And then explaining like the nature of cancer and how you faked it, all of the Bitcoin bullshit. And Shakespeare's like, "This is beyond me."
I don't have words. I don't have words to describe the depths of this man's depravity. Yeah. What was the word that they used in Firefly? Was it blubberous?
Blubberous, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm going to keep that one in reserve. Okay. The Book of Grudges says, "There's no denying that it was well made, but Nosferatu seemed in every way inferior, an imitation of the Dracula novel. Both the titular vampire and the hunters acted more intelligently in the book."
I've heard this from several people. I'm not an avid Dracula reader, so I can't say.
Yeah, I mean, like, isn't the whole point of the original Nosferatu? It was just a cheap knockoff of...
Well, it's kind of amazing how we got here. That they wanted to make a Dracula movie, they couldn't get the rights. They made a knockoff and changed a bunch of the names. They got hit with copyright. They were forced to delete all of the copies of the 1922 film. Some of them survived, made it through. Then it gets remade by Werner Herzog, and then we move all the way up to an Eggers remake of it. And now people are like, "Yeah, but it's not a very good adaptation of Dracula." You don't ever see it. It's like, wow, that's crazy, and that's over 100 years.
This is 100 years of fighting over the rights for this thing. And it's great that people
down for being too much of a copy to being criticized for not being a copy enough. I understand there's nuance to it, but that's just so interesting.
I think it's so reassuring as well that even 100 years ago, people were still dealing with copyright claims like we have to deal with on YouTube every day. Brilliant.
We know their pain.
Yeah. Matthew A says, Drinker, are you planning on seeing A Complete Unknown, the biography of Bob Dylan's early life? Even if you and the bar are not Dylan fans, I do recommend it. Saw it with my family and we loved it. Happy New Year. I saw the trailer. It looked good. We're really living in the time of the biopic, aren't we? They're churning those bad boys out at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, sure, I'd be up for giving it a watch. This says, what did you guys think about Abigail? With Abigail and Nosferatu, it seems that real vampire movies are back. Are we still back,
Abigail?
baby? I don't know. I thought Abigail was like a creepy little doll or something.
That was Annabelle.
Oh, miles off.
Abigail, I feel like I should have heard of this.
Yeah, let's see.
We got that
Renfield
movie
film.
with Nicolas Cage, I know as well. So.
Oh yeah.
Do vampires ever really go away? They seem to be around. You know,
there's always going to be something. It's kind of like, you know, war movies or action movies. Like there's always going to be some getting made. It's just like, is it in the zeitgeist or is it just like hovering in the background? But yeah, just looking to see who's in this. Nobody I really know.
Okay.
Yeah, directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett. Well, there you go, Muller. How have we not heard of this?
Well, I have to go and have a little look-see, see what that's about.
Absolute chumps that we are. Shadow of the Day says, Muller, apologies for trying to get you to check out my tweet during the Dark Souls stream. Time and place, my bad. I'll get back to you on that when you're solo. It wasn't a joke or anything.
No, it's all good. Like I said, it's a bit awkward. And I try not to, I wouldn't want to encourage it, right? Like, you know, if anyone's like, look at my tweet, look at my tweet, look at my tweet. I don't want to create a sense of we're tweet lookers on here in the super chats. Like, try to just send messages, questions. We love those.
The Angry Badger says, all hail Niet. There you go.
Yes.
Sorry, he's not here to see it. Type Zero says, smaller Squid Game, feasible/realistic? I don't know why that's for you specifically, but okay.
I was going to say, Drinker might even be better off answering that. I broadly, I mean, you just need a lack of. The world building's not fantastic in Squid Game, and they basically tell us that they've got their tendrils in like a lot of upper level stuff, and then it's a bit dystopian. That's how they're getting away with it, but it's also hyper secretive. So when you say realistic, do you mean could extremely rich people organize something like this, and could it function for like decades? Probably not. Like with the way that it's portrayed, probably not. With how easily that fucking detective almost destroys the entire organization, definitely not.
Yeah, I think even like amongst the security staff and stuff, someone's going to have a change of heart and blow the thing wide open.
Way too big of an organization not to be exposed.
I think so. Yeah, there's too many moving parts. But yeah, I mean, on the basis of like, could you get, say if it was just like a one-time thing, could you get like 400 people from across the country to take part in something like this?
That part of it, that's interesting. Like how many people could you get if they knew they were going to die? Which they didn't in the show necessarily, but let's just say for the sake of argument, if they knew.
I think the voting system would not work anything like it does in the show. Like, it's obviously done for drama, that it's really tight every time, but there's no fucking way, like, average people who are like, yeah, you've got essentially a greater than 50% chance of getting killed in the next game, never mind making it to the end. I mean, the average person's just going to bail on that and just be like, no, fuck it, I'll take my chances in the real world.
I see a lot of people in chat saying that. It's like, this really just doesn't feel realistic whatsoever. Like, it's like, oh yeah, but I could win all that money. It's like, but outside just surely you feel more hope outside of like, I can actually live. Like,
yeah, I mean, when you get to that point of saying like, okay, I'm going to give you $100 bajillion, right? Mm-hmm. But there's only a 1 in 100 chance that you're actually going to survive to get it. You're not going to take those odds, are you?
I mean, at that point, it's the lottery, but it kills you, which most people don't even do the lottery to begin with, or a lot of people don't anyway.
Yeah.
For that reason.
Yeah. So I feel like it would be... When this all started, right, and we were watching season 1, you know, you got that first game, like red light, green light. It made me wonder if, like, the premise of this is that, hypothetically, everyone can survive all the way to the end and all get, like, a huge cash payout, right?
Right.
Provided they do the correct things, like they work together, they cooperate, they demonstrate, say, positive traits. But the moment like selfishness or cowardice or whatever comes into it, that's when it starts to fuck things up and people start getting killed. So it's almost like a test of human character. can you work together to help each other? And then, but obviously, what you find out as the series does progress is no, the idea is to whittle it down until there's only really one person left, and then they get the winnings, which just feels kind of unfair, And I feel like
there's
it's
a lot of things that are unfair about it, but I'm with you on that. Actually, it would be more interesting, I think, to construct at least one Squid Game tournament in total where all the games can be passed by everyone.
Yeah.
If like you said, everybody's appropriately courageous, sacrificial, not in the sense of giving their lives up, but in the sense of maybe there's little prize offerings, or you get told like there's more money at the end of it the less people there are, and that you have to hold strong. Don't kill people. Like all those aspects could be very interesting. But like Mingle, for example, that one where they have to get into the rooms.
Yes.
That one can be facilitated such if you change the operation such that everyone can make it if only they were cooperative enough. Like that would be fun. Six-legged race, everyone can pass. The red light, green light, like you said. The cookie one. All of these are passable by everyone. But tug of war is inherently not passable by everybody.
Yeah, and that one where you have to play with a partner and like essentially only
marbles.
Half the people are going to make it. Yeah, marbles or whatever it is. So yeah, it feels like a bit of a missed opportunity, but oh well. 925 Moto says, I walked out of Nosferatu and thought open bar will probably rip this apart. Lol. I don't know why you would think that. It's not really a movie riddled with plot holes or anything.
You could probably find some contrivances or questions about motivations, but generally speaking, I thought it was quite a simple story. It didn't have a lot to say about all the mechanics.
I think, I guess that's a bit of a hallmark with Eggers movies in that they're not really that heavy on plot. It's more about like performances, visuals, characterization, ultimately what the movie's trying to say, rather than the nuts and bolts of how it's put together, which I'm fine with. It's an approach like any other. And if you're going to base it on that, like, okay, we can assess it on, are the performances good? Yeah, they're pretty fucking good. Like, does it look great? Yeah, it's very visually interesting. So I'm okay with that.
Oh, I'm fine with anybody who wants to break it down plot-wise. It's just that I didn't feel much of it. I mean, here's a question: like, how much did you? What did it do for you? Let's say on the heart scale, if that makes enough sense to you, like
emotional investment.
Sure. Like, where did you think what was your highest experience with the film for that?
Not terribly high. Just because I kind of knew how the original played out, and so I sort of had a feeling of like, well, I know who's going to live, who's going to die, and so maybe I wasn't as on edge as I might have been if I had no clue where it was all heading. Weirdly, I was more concerned for Willem Dafoe's character, like just because I like him as a performer. I was like, I really want him to pull through. He's quite quirky and interesting.
Yeah.
The wife, not so much, and I feel bad about that because obviously she's set up as like the tragic heroine of the story, like sacrifices herself to destroy the Count. But I don't know, I just was never like super invested in her as a character. Maybe I just didn't get enough time to get to know her.
It's kind of what I was going to admit was that generally speaking, I didn't get a lot of emotional experience out of it myself. I respected it,
Yeah. And I think even if I applied that same question to The Northman or The Lighthouse, similar situation in that I'm kind of interested to see where it goes, and I'm loving how it's getting there. I'm just not like super like invested in these characters making it, as it were. So I don't know. It's an odd one. Probably bears further like interrogation as to why that works the way it does and whether it's intentional or what. Gooch says, "Hail to Nyat, Cabal King." Gigachad says, on 19 Broward County Tic Tacs don't play with me. Sure, yeah, good point.
All right, yeah.
I'm glad you said that. RMVFX says, Merry Christmas and a happy Mublishy.
Well, thank you. Merry Christmas to you too.
Daval says, what will the name of the Mauler and Metal sex tape due to come out? That's the name of it. The Book of Grudges. This is part 2 of a question he had for us earlier. The problems faced by the protagonist were things that were accounted for and overcome in the novel. The addition of the plague also struck me as very odd. He should be hunting people for blood, not killing them with plague. So isn't the whole point of it that he's after Emma? Like, she's his target, really, and like everything else is just to facilitate him getting to her.
Yes, she is like his ultimate desire, or his appetite to be sated would be with her and stuff, right? Like,
yeah.
So all else is irrelevant compared to the point where he'll let himself die if it can mean, more with her.
I obviously I don't really know how he functions as an entity, so it might be that the plague rats are somehow an extension of him, and so every person that they infect kind of spreads his influence that way. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
isn't the implication that killing him ends the plague, right, with the rats and everything?
I think so. Yeah, like he's the core of it, but like they're also like, I don't know. Maybe he feeds on people through the plague rats and the spreading of it, and just like death and pestilence somehow gives him power. I'm not sure.
What a mean dude.
I know, he's not very nice. He's not like the kind of goofy vampire like you got in Van Helsing. I liked him. He was nice and camp.
He was great.
Sammy Pete says, Niet. That's it. That's the super chat. And a good one it is. Sam Wallace. I'd love Shakespeare's take on Avi Berkowitz in the Trump cabinet. How a college boy meeting Jared at a Harvard basketball game unwittingly led to him securing the Abraham Accords in person when everyone else had given up. Okay. It's quite a story. Crooked says, awesome to see Nia on here. I've been following his content for years, which has pushed me into watching films and shows that he's covered. Well, that's always a good thing, isn't it? I've said this before, obviously. It's like nice to be able to save people a bit of money and time by not watching something that's shit, but it's even better if we recommend stuff that's good and they actually watch them and enjoy them.
Fuck yeah.
Makes our job worth doing. Giga Chad says, the Fent got me moving like a claymation figure. Straight Wallace and Gromit in here. They thought I was homosexual the way I'm chasing this sack. Okay.
Okay.
Cybermat strikes. Hi, gents. Star Trek Discovery. The starship powered by the Hollyhock drive from Red Dwarf before the Enterprise. Please make it make sense. I can't. I'm sorry. It's powered by space fungus that allows you to instantly travel through fucking the universe. I don't get it. I never got it. It's silly. Please make it stop. Murcielago says, happy to see Razor back on the open bar. Please ask him to tell us why he likes Blade Runner 2049 so much. I know he has so much to say. Oh, we need to get him on for that at some point.
He hates that film, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Absolutely hates it. It would actually be really interesting to do some kind of like double feature happy hour, like do Blade Runner and then 2049. Just to go from like really happy to really angry.
All right, yeah.
Because I'd be up for rewatching 2049 and just seeing where it's at now. Because I watched it once back in the day. It's just like, yeah, it was visually nice. That's about all I can say about it. Where is the next one? Frank says, it's great to see some critical drinking, some commanding of metal, a bit of mauling, and some hardcore razor fisting. Cheers, gentlemen. Sounds painful.
Yeah.
But possibly fun, depending on your perspective. Arthur P. Happy New Year, everyone. Yet, please do more comic book readings. I loved your series on The Thing. Nice. Okay. Snex says, Star Wars was destroyed worse. Hamill and Ford destroyed their characters far worse than the writers did. I don't know if Ford did. I think he just didn't give a fuck.
And worse than Doctor Who or Star Trek, was it?
Star Trek, I think, was the discussion at the time.
So maybe the better argument would be that a lot of Star Trek's damage is in a different timeline, quote unquote. Star Wars doesn't even have that.
Yeah, but it's just, it all contributes to that overall problem of just no one cares about it anymore. Like, I think Star Trek is further down that path of apathy, that being the final stage of just destroying a franchise, whereas Star Wars has got a little bit more gas left in the tank. It's mostly bile and hatred, but like there's something there at least.
Yeah.
Although it was weird when someone the other day mentioned Skeleton Crew, and I had to remind myself that was even a thing that exists.
Yeah, dude. Did this Skeleton Crew? We called exactly what would happen with it, like
yes,
to a T. We've been wrong about different things, but I think we were 1000% accurate on the exact trajectory of Skeleton Crew. That it is tolerable, but kind of irrelevant. We don't give a shit, and nobody's gonna care.
Have you been keeping up with it at all?
No.
Right. Okay.
When I said tolerable, I just meant after the 2 episodes that we watched.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think what we'll do, because the finale is not this week, but next week. So we'll maybe try and See if
talk about it for 5 seconds.
Yeah, well, no, we'll see if Theory's available to come in and give his final thoughts on it, and I might try and catch up with it just to see how it ends up, because it'd be a nice way to bookend it, I suppose. And yeah, it'll keep us amused until the Ray movie comes out, because I'm sure that'll be something to look forward to.
Good God.
Normal Man says, I would actually pay to see a Star Trek show with the actors replaced by monkeys. Sure. I mean, it's probably better than what we have.
Let's do it.
Master of Puppets. Mauler, the girlfriend and I were debating what broke you more, the Isle of Man flag or being saved by Jabba in Outlaws. I'm Team Flag and she's Team Jabba. Where do you land on this issue?
I think if you listen to both of them, Isle of Man flag lasts longer and I sound like I might be dying. Jabba one's funny, and I think you could argue is better reason because it's just a flag in the other one, but I was that taken off guard at that drug, so...
I think that's sometimes the best ones where you're completely not expecting it. It just comes out of nowhere and hits you, and you're like, "Oh fuck!" And then it kind of builds, and you find you can't stop laughing. It's just glorious. Cunning Flop, best Denzel role. Alonzo in Training Day for me. So best Denzel Washington role. What did we like him in?
I usually opt for Man on Fire. It's what I was most gripped by, I guess. But to be fair, I still haven't seen the Equalizer films yet, so I might maybe pick one of them.
Stay away from the last one. That's a bit shit.
Wait, really? I thought Az loved it, didn't he?
He's getting a bit old for this stuff, you know, and I'm finding it hard to believe now. But
they doing another one?
Oh, probably. He'll be doing it till he's like 90, because he is 70 now. Denzel Washington looks younger than he is, but he's 70 years old.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting on a bit.
Isn't Anthony Hopkins is like 90 nearly? If not now.
He's been old like my whole life.
No, I guess what I'm saying is like it's the worrying kind of old. It's like there's old where you get to like your late 60s, but then there's old when you're in your 90s.
Old. We need a proper definition for this. Like, could die anytime old.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough day when it comes for Anthony Hopkins. Like, don't want to think about it. John the Man Good says, Drinker and Panel, what is something that you would like to see different in gaming as a whole? I'd like to see more AA games do better. I mean, I think that's a fair one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Gaming as a whole, though, what would improve it, generally speaking? Less hand-holding, I think, would be a definite one.
Getting the competition back to mechanics to try and get all companies to impress the audience with revolutionary ways to interact and engage instead of graphics. We've been in this era for so fucking long. It's been embarrassing.
I think it's fair to say that we've kind of maxed out what we can do graphically for the time being, at least. And we just don't. We need more than that now.
I think it was like 5 years ago. I can't remember what movie, but I was in the cinema and they had an ad for 8K Minecraft, and I just thought to myself, like, it's over.
It's like the world is over. I'm out.
There's no point. We lost.
Yeah. Normal Man, what are you guys on about saying that there's new Indiana Jones movies? There's only 3 Indiana Jones films, and there only ever were 3 movies. Yes, I agree. Mm-hmm. And let's not say anything more about it.
Yes.
I think we saw this one on the night, but I'll read it out anyway because it's £50 from Exotic Player. Drinker, Mauler, and crew, a very happy new year to you all, and thanks for yet another year of quality entertainment. By the way, I recently saw Heretic and was quite impressed. What are your thoughts on it? I may have missed your review.
I gotta see it. People have recommended it a couple times now.
Yeah. It's Netflix, isn't it? It's on, I think.
Is it?
Might be.
Let's find out.
Sure, Heretic, I saw it advertised there.
Where? Watch on Apple TV and Prime.
Okay. Guess I was wrong there. Must have been Prime I saw it on.
But you gotta buy it, I think, on Prime.
I've got ways around that. It's okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah, great. You're gonna pick it up on Apple, I see. Okay, good.
Sure, yeah. Alec Baldwin's Finger says, great to see Niet here. Yes, it's great to have him on. Ajanis says, Razor and Metal? Damn, hard-hitting guest lineup for today. Just missed Platoon, and it would have been my favorite lineup. No offense to Film Comics, I'm not as familiar with him. Well, I'm sure he didn't take offense, but thank you. Warwick Dwarver says, after the Hulk, it's Snatchosaurus. Sure.
Yeah.
Rich Walwork. In the Marvel Universe, they got about 20 movies before they killed the big bad Thanos. Star Wars made the mistake of killing the big bad Emperor in their 3rd movie. Big mistake. I mean, Not really. This was a very different time when we didn't have fucking 500 movies in a franchise.
Well, we're
anymore.
talking about one of, if not the most successful IPs in the history of merchandising, and they did that. You know what I mean? Like, you could argue that was actually a really good choice.
You could definitely argue that, yeah. I feel like movies then in that era, like they weren't thinking like, how can we use this to launch pad the next like 5 movies in our franchise? It was more like, yeah, we've got a story here, we're going to tell it, and that's kind of what we got. Let's just end it there. I like that time. Ajanis also says, as an aside, has anyone at the bar heard of or seen Hellsing and or the Hellsing Ultimates? If you haven't, I recommend it. Genuinely entertaining with a strong cast, even if the plot is a bit insane. I've not seen it. Yeah. Also, no SpongeBob in Nosferatu, 0 out of 10. I think that's fair. Yeah,
that was a fuck up. I'll agree with that.
Derek, I saw a meme where Crypto is a cat instead of a dog. Superman calls for help and Crypto ignores him, so he just dies. Yeah, I've seen that one. I liked as well, like the Zack Snyder version of it, where the dog's got a gun and Superman's just lying dead in the snow and everything's washed out.
This is the way.
Yeah. R says, I fantasize almost daily about quitting my career, having my own review channel, and shooting the shit with you guys about all the things, living the dream. We do get to live the dream. It's nice. I like doing this. It's good fun. Yeah, you'll get there one day, man. Stick with it. Big J, Razor Fist, you need to join the EFAP gang for a movies recording. We'd love a Western double feature, a classic followed up by Wild Wild West.
Oh, that's a good idea. I'll see if he's interested. We could do that.
Nick Johnson says, thoughts on the Witcher 4 trailer? Mauler, do you want to field this one?
What trailer? Number 4?
Witcher 4.
Why would I feel that? I don't know anything about Witcher.
I know, but you play more video games than me.
I haven't played The Witcher. In fact, you've seen season 1 and 2, right?
Yes, for myself.
Yeah, I haven't even seen that.
Well, consider yourself lucky. But as for the game, I assume this is the game you're talking about, Witcher 4, rather than Witcher Season 4. But yeah, so as to the controversy around Ciri and stuff, I'm fine with her being the main character because that's kind of where she was always headed anyway. After Wild Hunt, it was pretty obvious that she was going to be taking up the mantle. I don't really understand how she can be a Witcher because from what I understand from the lore, women can't be Witchers. Like the process of making them into one would kill them. Presumably they found a way around it. Maybe her elder blood allows her to do it or something. Feels like they might just be doing a bit of retcon in there though, because they just really want her to be a Witcher, whatever. In terms of her design and her character model now, she does look a bit weird compared to the Ciri in the previous game. I feel like they've tried to age her way too much and she's just got kind of a different facial structure. Some of it, I guess, can be down to graphical fidelity. It's obviously a couple of generations removed from the previous Witcher game. So there is that. But yeah, it's that kind of environment now, unfortunately, where if you see a female character that's, how can I put it, less visually appealing than they were in a previous game, then people immediately leap to one particular conclusion. So it's a tough one to call, sadly. But that's where we're at. So I'll reserve judgment until I've played it. Next one. Cynical Drunkards. Question for the panel. What were y'all's best and worst video games of the year? Do y'all think that AAA gaming or Hollywood had the worst year? I think we did ask that on the night, actually. That one looks familiar, yeah. Albert Nada Retro. Super Chat 1 from Lost Boys The Thirsts. Oh, you've heard of me. I'm flattered. Edgar Frog. Well, don't be, because your books suck. Okay, sure. Aid de Crams says, Merry Late Christmas. Panel, you must choose one to live with. Sydney Sweeney, but she loves and quotes Rings of Power. Oh, yeah.
We did this one.
One. Yeah, I definitely remember that one. Grayskull, my dumb friend wanted to ask Drinker why his movie has a blonde 100-pound Mary Sue that ends up saving the main male hero Deus Ex Machina style. I can answer that one quite easily, actually. So Anya in the books is quite a formidable fighter, but she usually works within certain constraints, which I tried to do to keep some element of realism in that she can't just throw a 200-pound guy across the room because that's silly. And in this particular instance, she fucking throws a stun grenade into the room, and like all the people that she's killing can't even see her at that point. So like that's just like fucking Mauler and I could.
Sue?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, like, even chumps like Mauler and I could probably have killed all those people because she has a gun and a knife and they can't do anything. So she's really just mopping up. And after that, yeah, she gets hit by like an RPG detonation pretty close to her, and it knocks her out. And it's Drake who has to take down the villain, and she just like shows up after he's already beaten him to deliver the killing blow, as it were. So I wouldn't consider that the traits of a Mary Sue in this instance. Mauler, I don't know. Based on what I've described there, does that make sense?
Sounds like we got another Ray on our hands.
Yeah, I know. She is all the special forces.
You were the chosen one.
Yeah. It's tricky though. Like you have to deal with these accusations, but like we did put a bit of thought into all of these fight scenes. It's the same with the fight between Frost and the big dude up on the roof. Again, whenever she tries to take him on, she uses weapons, she uses ambushes to try and get an advantage over him. And he still kicks her ass quite easily and almost kills her, and she has to get rescued by a man. It's funny that, but people just don't seem to notice that aspect of it. It's weird. Albert Nada Retro. Sorry, the rest of the Lost Boys stuff is too expensive to send in a super chat, but you get the idea. Lol. Sorry, Shad, but Twilight is crap.
Well,
yeah, we talked about this in the night. Does Shad try to argue that Twilight is good?
I think he does. I don't know how much of it is a meme or not anymore. It's becoming hard to tell. I think the last I heard, he argues it is good based on the standards of its genre.
Right.
Like obviously, to properly criticize Twilight, it would require me to watch it again. So I have to just, vomit and leave.
I don't think any of us want to do that. I'll never be able to see Kristen Stewart anymore, and not think that she's a mouth breather. Like it's just every single scene that she's in. It's very off-putting. Daniel Sands says, "Have any of you seen Ari Aster, Something Strange About the Johnsons short film?" I have not.
Neither have I.
What's Ari Aster been up to recently?
Don't know.
Last thing I saw of him was Midsummer. Let's see what he's done. Feature films, Midsummer. So, Beau is Afraid. Oh, yeah, that was another one. Haven't seen that.
That was super expensive and did not make any money, right?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah,
was it the most expensive A24 film ever?
So 35 million, which sounds pretty expensive for A24, and made 11.5 at the box office. So yeah, not a great one. And then he's got another one coming out called Eddington, which is TBC. What it's got? Fucking hell. Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, because obviously Emma Stone, Austin Butler, Luke Grimes. That's actually a pretty good cast.
That is just the set of who is working today. It's kind of funny how just by the cast, that would be a fun game if we could guess by the cast what era, be it the decade, this film would have been made,
Yeah. No, it's pretty spot on. What's this one? Scott Ski says, "How do we live in a world where Baldur's Gate 3 is more dark fantasy than Dragon Age?" Well, because Dragon Age is shit now, I guess, and the wrong people are working on it. Social Morlock says, "Happy Drunk Year. If you're looking for great vampiric storytelling, read the Necroscope books by Brian Lumley. Terrific, believable vampires with a touch of paranormal espionage in the mix. Must reads." Okay. Captain Barbarossa says, "Vamps might actually like thumping techno. It'd be the closest they could get to feeling like they have a beating heart." That's actually pretty good. I like that.
Maybe.
Go for it. Sam Wallace. "Gaming highlight was Baldur's Gate 3 dev calling out the entire AAA industry at the Game Awards. Wizards of the Coast tried to turn them sludge pipe, but he said, nah, one game is good, and went back to their own projects." That's pretty good, actually, if you did that. Vincent Arturio says, "Mublishy, his Rags is rapidly running out of grannies as he can ruin before heralding the apocalypse. When are you doing the Prestige breakdown?"
Some century. That'll be one of my scariest projects. If you ever see that I complete that, it was probably intense in terms of me figuring out how to do it.
Yeah.
It's the script I basically have the most respect for. So,
there is that. Will Over Heels Enterprises says, which Western state do you think is best used in movies that depict the Wild West? Christ, that's an oddly specific question. I mean, when it comes to most of our favorite Westerns, I could not tell you what fucking state they're meant to be in most of the time. Like, all the time, it's not really spelled out that explicitly, or if it is, like, I just kind of forget, and I'm more interested in, like, the story and characters than the location. I guess I would struggle to give you a good example right there. Sorry, man. Grant Matheson says, here's to the new year and a challenge for your magnum opus, The Drinker Fixies Rebel Moon. Fuck.
Maybe you don't fix that. maybe you just let it,
That's just a complete rewrite at that point, isn't it? It would go against the rules of Drinker Fixies, because it's like, I feel like there's not even a kernel of a good idea in that movie. It's just derivative sludge.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a good challenge, though. Try and pick something out of it. Kyle Vernon says, Squid Game Season 1 started sucking as well, so I'm not too dissatisfied. Player 1 saves the show in both seasons. Hands down best.
I mean, I had issues with Season 1, but I quite like how it ends.
Yeah, generally I was fine with that. I thought Season 1 was really good. And I do like the guy playing Player 1. He totally looks like a Korean Mads Mikkelsen. I don't know how to
people say that. I can see it. I see where it's coming from.
I think it's his lower face, like his mouth and stuff. He just really looks like him. It's odd.
He's got an intensity.
He does. I like it. Mall of America says, Nosferatu. Eggers never delves into details as he does in other flicks. Von Franz, the guy who works on your transmission without having read the manual. What? I mean, does he go into lots of details with his other films? I can't recall it, really.
This might be a semantics thing, maybe. I don't know, like in terms of what they consider the important details versus not.
Yeah, I always got the feeling like the purpose of his films is to create this almost like dreamlike quality where it's like flitting in and out of reality and you're not quite sure what's real and physical and what's just like in people's imaginations. And I think it weaves that spell pretty effectively. So you don't really want the nuts and bolts details, or that would undermine that purpose. Maybe I'm giving him too much credit. I don't know. Chris Barry. Good day, champions. Wondering if any of you have seen Space King on YouTube. If not, it's a hilarious pastiche of Warhammer. Well worth watching. Cheers and get a dog up you. That sounds painful.
I have indeed watched Space King. It's very funny, but not for the faint of heart. It's pretty gory and hilarious.
Is it animated or?
Yes, by the Flash Gits guys.
Okay. Take a look. Social Morlock. We need a serious, simple Superman film. A throwback to the original Donner movies. Have the balls to film it 70s style so it looks like the 78 version / Jaws. Not every film needs to look clean and high def and modern. I agree thematically. I'd like to see a serious but like earnest Superman movie that's just relatively simple. Probably wouldn't want to try and film it 70s style though, because it's just going to come across as really fucking try hard. Sorry, I thought you were going to say something there, Mo. That's why I stopped.
Nope. I was just enthralled with your commentary.
No, thanks so much. Jardar. I really loved Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I especially loved the gameplay. I also want to give a shout out to two smaller titles. Crow Country, a small horror game inspired by the classic Resident Evil. And Thank Goodness You're Here, a British comedy game based in a small town in northern England. Matt Berry's in it, and I think I remember Mauler saying he was a fan. Everyone
I love Matt Berry.
Matt Berry. He's got a voice that you just can't help but love.
Yes.
And yeah, I'd heard about Crow Country, haven't played it, but I think I've heard people say good things about it.
I've not heard much about it at all, actually.
I just got Still Wakes the Deep, so I'm going to play that. But yeah, I played a bit of Astrobot just the other night, just because I wanted a bit of a palate cleanser after Silent Hill 2.
That game is such a breath of nostalgic air.
It's just a joy. It's just a real pleasure to play. It's fun. The controls are actually great. Like the game design is great. Levels are really complex and interesting. They've got so much to delve into. Just
for me, it just feels like, hey, remember games? And I'm like, I do remember games. Yay!
Remember when games weren't so fucking self-important and self-conscious? I like that. Sword of Rome. Am I the only one that thought Nosferatu looked like Dr. Disrespect? Keep up the good work, boys. I've been listening to this for years. Thank you. I mean, if he wore sunglasses, I think he would be better in that regard.
Nosferatu streaming.
Yeah. Just totally owning everyone in online gaming. Mega Spidey Man, thanks for another fantastic year of Open Bar. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas. To all, favorite Santa Claus and why those? Happy New Year, everyone.
Favorite Santa Claus. I really liked from the brief scenes that I saw because it was on TV at some point. Kurt Russell as Santa.
Oh yeah, the Christmas Chronicles.
He was fun.
I think it's just because Kurt Russell, you can't help but like him.
Did I tell you or show you the clip? I must have told you about this. It's so fucking funny. So we talk about The Thing, and stop me if I've told you this before, because I can't remember if I told you. We're talking about the scene where Blair is going nuts and breaking all the technology and stuff. Kurt Russell comes in the room with a table, and you get the axe through the table. It's like, fuck, and they can stop him, good stuff. And then on EFAT, we're talking about this. We're talking about how good the fight looks and feels. And then Rag says, yeah, it's very intense. Feels like an actual scuffle. It's a bit awkward. And that's like a good element to throw in.
Yeah.
And that axe slamming into that table, Jesus, we almost lost Mel Gibson there.
What?
And like all of us are sort of awkward and then like giggling, going like, Mel Gibson? And he's like, yeah. And then I go, yeah, good thing we didn't lose Mel Gibson. And he's like, yeah.
He just like wasn't getting it.
Me and Frank were like, "You think Kurt Russell's Mel Gibson?"
Yeah.
How did you?
He thought about that all this time. Like,
apparently, I think he just ended up saying, "I must have mixed them up." And I was just like, "How did you mix up Kurt Russell and Mel Gibson?"
And you think, like, I don't know, like it would have come up at some point that, like, Mel Gibson didn't star in The Thing.
To me, what's so weird is they kind of are iconically they look entirely different, like in terms of how you imagine them in your head, right?
Yeah.
Kurt Russell's fucking epic beard at this point that he's got in so many different projects, and then Mel Gibson. The way I see the both of them, I was just like, how the fuck did you mix those up? Maybe it was just famous acting white guy. I must have been it. He might be racist.
Sure, he might be. Yeah, racist against white people.
Oh well. What can you do?
Yeah, favorite Santa Claus, Richard Attenborough in Miracle on 34th Street. He was good. I liked him. I don't know. Did you ever watch Santa Claus the movie as well?
With Tim Allen? Or was it someone else?
No, that's The Santa Claus. But yeah, Santa Claus the movie, it's got John Lithgow, I think, in it. He's not playing Santa, he's playing like an evil businessman dude. Anyway, I cannot remember the dude's name that plays Santa, but for some reason, he always stuck in my head. He's just like spot on, like when he's good doing his ho ho.
David Huddleston, apparently.
David Huddleston. That is just like a perfect name.
He's the same actor that played the Big Lebowski.
Oh yeah. How did I not put that together? Which I suppose he's he's got quite a distinct look in the Santa Claus movie with his beard and everything. But yeah, I thought he did a really good job.
Santa. Yeah.
You should actually watch it just for John Lithgow because he just plays like such an over-the-top villain, but you can tell he's having so much fucking fun with it. It's great. Sonny Hard says, Mauler let metal out of his cage. Good.
No, I just put him in a different one.
Yeah. Bass Player says, lore fans checked out after Rings of Power Season 1, Episode 1 if they got that far. It's so boring it wasn't worth hate watching. Kind of true. Blazestone, Occam's Razor. Solution with the least assumptions is likely to be correct. Hanlon's Razor. Never assume malice if incompetence is more likely. There you go. That's the precept that I was going by the other night. Hanlon's Razor. Darius says, Chuck Norris rescues the Eagles. He would as well. You could actually just send him into Mordor because one, the ring wouldn't have any power over him, and two, he could just fly kick his way through any army that was in his path. So, perfect weapon. Bacchus Beast says, predictions when the woke period will end. Well, it'll probably never end altogether, but I think it's broken the back of it, I think, last year. I imagine we're kind of at the tail end of it now. It's a trend like anything else, I suppose, in Hollywood. It comes and it goes. It never vanishes altogether, but it can definitely wane, and I think that's what we're seeing now. Dante McMillan, did you see they're not casting Henry Cavill as James Bond? Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I feel like that was a given. It's a he should have absolutely had his chance to play James Bond, but I just don't think they're going to do it.
Nah, it'd make too much sense. I feel like now whoever they do pick is just going to get so much fucking hate, because like there'll be a lot of pissed off fans out there. SC615 says, I'm a big fan of Twin Peaks. How do we all feel about the weirdness of David Lynch and Twin Peaks? I think we need some quality weird media back. So I think I've gone on record as saying I'm not a huge David Lynch fan. Like a lot of his work is kind of impenetrable, even to himself. And so for that reason, I'm not massively into his stuff, but I definitely can see the benefit of like weird media, as you put it, like TV shows that are a little bit quirky. They've got a little bit of a sense of something not being quite right and something a little bit, a little bit off the beaten track.
If you were to try and box it as abstract storytelling or whatever, like you're going to be able to find it in all kinds of less than mainstream circuits, especially because people like the conventional storytelling. But I would just go as far as saying that like you'll probably see it here and there every once in a while, but it'll never like he was probably one of the best examples of it getting as far as it could to the mainstream in terms of budgets and stuff. It's just not something that resonates with standard broad audiences.
Yeah, because like, I mean, it's interesting, me being on here, like praising things like Nosferatu and like Robert Eggers' work in general, and then saying like, well, I'm not as much of a fan of Lynch because he's too weird. And it's like, well, I think they are opposite extremes of that spectrum, I suppose. Like Lynch is like the uncomfortable side of weird to the point where it becomes difficult to penetrate what he's actually trying to do story-wise. Whereas
he has like polls, something like the Twin Peaks show, right? It was the 1990s one, that did pretty well, if I remember correctly. Like people resonated with it quite a bit, but depending, you could then go to the way more abstract of his stuff, which doesn't always play as well. But yeah, it's here and there. I like a lot of his stuff. I'm just not a huge fan as other people are.
Yeah. And last of all, Steve O'Devil says, Happy New Year to you all. Will any of you be playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 this year? I might give it a go, actually, if it's good. You could do something like that. Medieval fantasy. But that right there's the last one. So, yeah. Hold on, I was just reading a note there. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, well, thank you guys for joining us for this little catch-up, and thank you for all your very delicious super chats. It was fine to chew over them. Yeah, and you will catch us again on the next open bar on Thursday. But for now, that is all we've got for today. So go away now. Bye.